You're listening to the Chopped Podcast, episode number 79. Hey everyone, I'm Marly of the blog, namely Marly, and we are here for another episode of FriChats. I'm here with Cara. Hey, Cara.
Holla. What's up, Marly?
Well, everything is up because I'm talking to you, and that's always making me happy.
Oh my gosh. People don't understand that. We usually chat before we do the recordings for this, and we don't stop.
I know.
I've already been talking for like a half hour, so we have to cut it off.
Yeah, we're done now. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. You guys miss so much.
It is really good. One of these days we should just like release the pre-recordings because they're so good.
Seriously.
Yeah.
The behind the scenes of FriChats.
That's right. In FriChats, it's behind the scenes, so it's like a double behind the scene thing here.
Ooh, I like that.
I like it too. So just a quick overview for everybody. FriChats is really just an impromptu discussion between me and Cara. We're talking about things related to food blogging in a kind of relaxed, jamming sort of way. That work for you, Cara?
That works for me.
Okay.
Work for you?
Yep, it works for me. And today's topic is on the topic of something I think that we all feel at one point or another or multiple times a day, which is resistance.
That's right. Resistance. So you brought up resistance in terms of a book that you were reading. Do you want to describe what book that was and what he describes it as?
I would like to clarify something on this topic that really bothers me, and that is everybody gives Steven Pressfield, he's the author behind the book, The Art of War. Is that right? Or War of Art?
War of Art.
Oh, Art of War is Sun Tzu.
Yeah.
Yes. War of Art is Steven Pressfield. Yes. So Steven Pressfield oftentimes gets the credit for coming up with this term resistance. However, there is an author called, her name is Marcia Sinitar. She wrote the book, and I Do What You Love is the name of the book, and the money will follow. Do what you love and the money will follow. And this book was back in the 1970s, and she is the one that came up with the capital R resistance and has some lovely thoughts on the term resistance. But basically, it is anything that holds you back from your creative ventures. Is that right, Cara? Would you define it differently?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of, I believe her first name is Julia Cameron.
I love right? Julia Cameron. That's another thing I love about you now.
So I actually did the Artist Way workshop back in 2007. Did you?
You met her?
No, not her. No, it was facilitated by just an instructor. But they do workshops all around based off of this book, The Artist Way.
Cool.
And what Julia talks about, resistance is the inner critic, basically.
Yes, the inner critic.
So that's kind of how I identify with resistance, is that voice that's inside of you that is constantly telling you why you should give up.
Yes.
The end.
We're done. Bye. Okay. That's beautiful. That's all, and interestingly enough, that shows up in multiple ways. Like it can show up in one category called, let's say, procrastination. And procrastination can be spending your all day watching, the news or watching cat videos or, just
I love that. Yeah.
Anything besides
anything but the work.
Yes, exactly. But I think it can also show up in other ways, which is fear. Like, maybe I'm afraid I can't do all these things that I want to do. So therefore, I don't get, it's also a form of procrastination, but it's also fear.
Well, and what's interesting about procrastination isn't that it's just because you're a bad person and you're lazy and you don't like to work. Procrastination always has a reason behind it. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
So I was writing down ideas about resistance this morning, trying to think about it, because this is a topic that I'm so happy we're discussing. I have been feeling massive amounts of resistance, especially in the past 2 months.
Yeah.
Working has been really difficult for me. And so instead of like getting into that shame cycle of berating myself and making myself feel poorly about who I am because I just can't seem to, quote unquote, get it all together, I was jotting down some ideas of the idea of why resistance occurs. And it surpasses this idea when, when I first started off acknowledging that I was an artist, because that was really hard for me to actually say I am an artist.
Yes.
I felt a lot of resistance. And so usually as bloggers, we are artists too. And taking that plunge, if you have, from like say your full-time job into the blogging world, you will feel a lot of resistance going into there. It's anytime you start something new and just focus on that creative work, we feel it. But it's not just that. It's when you're doubting yourself about something, when you begin a new phase in the artwork that you've already been doing and you're trying to go to a new level, when you're feeling overwhelmed. But the one that like really impacted me was, you just need a freaking break. You need a vacation. You need to stop. Like, you'll start to feel that resistance as well.
Right, because you, as an artist, you can't just keep pushing. You're not a manufacturing, a company. You can't just like keep pumping out one after another. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and you have to be in tune with yourself as to what's going on and why am I feeling like this? And something that Julie Cameron talks about is doing morning pages where you wake up and you get your cup of coffee and you journal 3 pages of just stream of consciousness. Whatever comes to your brain, just write and don't stop. And I was just, like I said, I was very excited to talk about this topic. And this morning I decided to actually journal, and I haven't done that in, oh my gosh, in so long. And it came out through my journaling that, hi, I'm still grieving the death of my mother.
Right.
And if you haven't heard, I'm just about out of my first trimester. I'm pregnant. I'm having a little baby. And there's a lot going on in my life. Give yourself a break, Cara.
Yes.
No wonder your, resistance is really high right now to work, because there's other things that I need to focus on. And I think it's really important, when you realize why you're feeling resistance towards something, you can then take care of yourself in that capacity. So what I need right now is I just need to be gentle on myself. I need a little self-love. I need a little more attention than I normally do for myself, and and just see myself through this grief.
I think that's beautiful. Just as you're talking, I just had this revelation. Like, I think it's easy to compare ourselves to, we are solopreneurs basically, right? I mean, we are doing this all on our own compared to, we may see some entities that are out there that have blogs, but they have a team. They have people working with them, and they probably can get on some production schedule. It's easier for them to follow it. They've got teams to dictate things to.
Yes, exactly. And they're there to help you through that resistance. You're there all by yourself.
Thank you. That helps me so much, because I think I have been in that rut of like comparing myself to others and thinking, okay, I'm gonna like, buckle up and just get all through all of this. And it's just not happening. And I've been really frustrated with that. So this really helps me a lot.
Well, and it's counterproductive too.
It is.
But we never stop comparing ourselves, do we? I mean, that's just the human condition. But at least we can learn how to rewire those thoughts. So when they do come, we can go, oh, that's the red flag that I need to be a little more gentle on myself. So let me, go take care of myself in however way is best for me.
And I want to say, sometimes I think resistance has a purpose. Like, resistance isn't always the bad guy in the room. I mean,
very great point.
There are times I think, like, for example, if I create this plan that's a little bit too, there's too much on it, I can find myself resisting that plan because it's maybe more like my ego wants me to get all this stuff done, but that's not really what my intuition wants. It's not, my inner me wants a little more free time in my life.
That's so great, because, in that book, The War of Art, he talks about the 10 signs of a true professional, because let me set it up, saying that Steve Pressfield says that to get over resistance, you become a professional, right? You get up, you do work,
right? And
it doesn't mean that you're working like a crazy mad woman or man,
right?
Or that you're wildly successful. It's that you do the work. But he says that there are 10 signs of a professional, and one of them is that they don't over identify with their jobs. And so if we can do the work, but then also separate it and have our lives and our hobbies and the things that we love and our families, then we become more fulfilled people too. And so we become less obsessive over, do the work, do the work, do the work.
Yes. And think how easy it is for us to over-identify. I mean, we are set up to over-identify because it's our blog. It's our baby. It's our, our face, our name is all over it.
Yeah. Preach.
Yeah. Mic drop moment. I mean, so in other words, I think it's something we're highly susceptible to. We have to really be on top of that one. We need to not over-identify.
Well, Marly, I think we talk about this every time about self-care and, checking in with yourself. And if we can do that on a daily basis, we can be honest with where we're at with our resistance.
Yeah.
Hey, today I really don't want to work today. And instead of saying, well, you're right, let's go play solitaire for the next 8 hours, because that's what I've been doing. I'm not going to lie. That has been my life. I've been playing solitaire forever.
I bet you're really good at it now.
I'm really good, but it doesn't really pay my bills. But if we can say, okay, yeah, I want to play solitaire or I want to do something else, but today, here's what I'm going to do. And maybe make it a little smaller list than normal, then get that productivity going, so we don't succumb to the fear or the overwhelmingness or whatever it might be. But
I also think if there's any way to incorporate some play in the day, like for example, for me, I actually have, as part of, I do my morning pages every day. I'm a big Julia Cameron fan, and I don't do all of the steps. Like I would love to take myself out on an artist date. I don't do that right now, but I would love to do that. I already know what I want to do. I want to go to a museum.
Oh, I love it.
I want to go by myself, and I just want to walk through it. I don't know why I want to do that.
You need to do it now. I'm going to hold you accountable.
Okay, hold me accountable because I really want to do that.
And I want you to bring your magic wand with you.
That would be interesting. I might be a short trip to the museum. They may usher me out.
You know what? Sorry. It was so funny that one of my best friends, she's like, she said something about how one of her clients had drawn a picture of her, herself in a family with wine and a magic wand in the other hand.
Nice.
And my best friend was laughing because she's like, that's something that you would draw, Cara. I could see you with a magic wand. And that made me so giggle because I'm like, me and Marly, we're just talking about, I want her magic wand. So,
there's some destiny in this, I think.
That's from a previous episode, everyone. So
go back.
If you're sitting here wondering what the heck are they talking about, it's from there. So yeah, go back.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. I totally cut you off.
And I totally forgot what I was talking about.
You were talking about an artist date, having fun, playing.
Yes. But yes, I write in my morning pages, and some of it's freestyle and some of it is, writing to my intuition. And what I found, if I actually write a question to my what I call my inner me, what should I do today, or what's going on in my life? What the answer I got was, I need to have more fun. So for me, that is putting on some fun music if I'm going to go down and do a shoot of some food, why not let it be fun and enjoy that? Have some music playing as I'm writing. That makes me happy. So
what's so interesting about that, the dichotomy between your morning pages, what it's telling you, and then what your inner critic is telling you to keep going, do more.
Yes.
I want to do 15 recipes today and get them all shot by the end of the day. How funny that we have two conflicting different voices going all the time at us.
It's true.
It's maddening.
It is maddening. And how utterly discouraged I feel when I don't get those 15 recipes done. And then on the other side, I've got my intuition telling me, have some fun today,
And do you feel utterly discouraged the same way if you don't
No,
have fun in your day? Isn't that funny? Like, what's going on with us?
I know. Why not
I
just
relate totally. Yeah.
listen to that small, quiet voice telling us to do I think that's just important to do that.
So what do we do, Marley? Like, we're feeling resistance. Okay, mainly, what do I do? I'm feeling totally uninterested in working. So how do you deal with that?
Well, I had this idea, like, something came to me today. Like, I was working on a post, I wasn't feeling very inspired about it. And then it dawned on me, like, what if I was doing this for money? What if somebody had offered me, $5,000 for that post? And I'm just throwing that number out there just because, it's a big number and,
Yeah.
and immediately I was like, oh, I would definitely feel more hyped about that. And I don't know, like, I don't know if that's a good way of looking at it or not, but I feel like if we, that's kind of like that act as if. But what if I feel like I am worth that $5,000? I don't know. I felt like, yeah, I felt like there was some value to that, and I want to create that sense of value without the dollar behind it.
That reminds me of in the War of Art, he talks about how you can't, and I think this kind of goes hand in hand, so bear with me. You can't look to others to validate your efforts or calling. And then he
Mm,
brought up Van Gogh. Take Van Gogh, for example, who painted masterpiece after masterpiece, and no one bought them while he was alive.
wow.
And so here's somebody who did the work because it was what was in him and he felt true to that. So there is something to that. Well, what if I'm getting paid for a post or whatnot? Um, Even though you might not be getting paid 5,000 or even anything for that particular post, it's what's in you. It's your medium. You have to.
Yes. Right. I love that. And looking at it like it's your art. And in fact, it reminds me of a quote by Marcia Sinitar in her book, Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. And, she talks in there about how, speaking of artists like Van Gogh, the powerful individual, the creative thinker, the artist, the poet, the inventor, they are the people that are, they're being disruptive to the status quo. And oftentimes I think that our society and cultures are really, they're kind of, stick with the pack kind of thinking. And so for the people who want to step out and be successful, it can't, it's just an added challenge to people that are in that role.
Yeah, it is because it's lonely. I mean, well, I
Yes.
mean, it can be, and you might be the only person in your circle who's doing what you're doing, and people look at you like, "Are you sure you wanted to quit your past
Yes.
job to do this?"
Yeah.
But you've got to do that. You've got to identify where you're at first. Are you feeling resistance because you're just really doubting yourself and you just need a little self-love and care or whatever, or you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're trying to do too much?
Yes.
I think it's just about being honest with where you're at and then make a plan from there. How are you going to take care of yourself today?
I love that. I totally love that. I think that those two together, one, can you make a plan and make sure that plan is something, not like me that I was, going crazy and trying to do all of this stuff that's impossible for one person to do. Make a plan that's doable and then also make sure that you include in their time for self-care.
Yeah. So something just really quick too, before we started recording for this, Marley and I were talking about this idea of wanting to do everything. And what we don't stop and think sometimes is we're we're wives, we're mothers, we are
Yes.
running a household. We are more than just bloggers. We are taking care of our families. And so thank God we have these jobs where we can drop everything and give our daughter,
Yes.
something that she needs, or have a moment with our husbands when we couldn't necessarily afford to do so before. And we need to give ourselves a little more credit.
Right.
Holy cow, you're doing amazing. You're doing three jobs right now. and we're still telling ourselves that's not good enough. Well, it is good enough, and it's got to be good enough, and time to give yourself a pat on the back and say, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me.
That'll be our motto, right?
Yeah. Or get shirts. Yes. For that.
And you mentioned that Stephen Pressfield has a new book out, right?
He does. Can I say the full title?
Please.
Okay. He has a new book out called Nobody Cares About Your Shit. And it is great. It is fabulous. And if you've been in the blogging world for a while, you've realized that it's just not the same as it used to be. And that's fine too, and that's good. But the thing that I'm starting to accept is just the idea that I don't really think that people really give a shit about what I have to say, and that's okay. Yeah. And but then how do I go about my work and still be true to myself knowing that? Because there's something very freeing in it. I really recommend you guys getting that book. It's great. And even The War of Art is fabulous as well.
Well, it sounds like that one, that book identifies greatly with the point that you were just making, which is number 10 on his list of how to be professional, which is don't over-identify too much with yourself.
Right. And he says the professional loves her work. She's invested in it wholeheartedly, but she does not forget that the work is not her. And so that is the thing that we have to constantly remember is if my post fails, quote unquote, then it doesn't mean that I have failed or that I'm a bad person or any of that. I can separate my work from my life. And I just think that there is a lot of freedom when we're able to do that a little better.
That's amazing. And so just so everybody knows, I think you mentioned that Marie Forleo, I can't even say that, Marie Forleo has a link to at least part of the book online, and I'll leave a link in the show notes page.
No, it's if you're on her newsletter, she gave it. And I don't know if it's necessarily available to everybody if they sign up now, because it was this past week's one.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Well, still look for it online. There might be ways to get a hold of some of it. But,
or just buy it.
Or just buy it. It's probably a few dollars.
Support his craft.
Yes, exactly. The other thing I wanted to point out is that I was listening to a podcast this morning. The podcast is called On Being. It's by Krista Tippett. And she was interviewing somebody, and I can't remember her name right now. I don't have my phone with me, so I can't say it. But this woman is an expert on grief and grief counseling. And she talked about how we live in the United States is a society of experts, or the notion that we have to have all the answers. And so this whole thing was on the point that we don't have to have all the answers.
Wow. I need to listen to that.
It was very powerful. And I will just confess, Cara, that I put myself in that category. I can't tell you how badly I want to feel like I have all the answers, that I know what I'm doing.
Oh, because like the moment you admit that you don't is the moment you lose all control. But the irony is you never had it. We're silly. I mean, we really are. It's motivated by something deeper in us, and it has its purpose. But at the same time, it's like, I totally get it. I get defensive if somebody's trying to tell me something that I already know. It's like, I already knew that. What do you think I am, stupid? And it's like, whoa, calm down here, Tiger.
Right.
Like, you're okay. It's okay.
Right. And after a year and a half of interviewing different food bloggers, some of them hugely successful, I have learned one thing, and that is that there is no one approach to being a successful food blogger. I really expected that I would scratch the surface and I would be like, ta-da, this is the secret.
So right. You're so right.
There is no secret.
There's absolutely no secret. So you might as well have a little fun while you're at it. And just enjoy yourself and love who you are.
I love that. I think that's a perfect wrap to today's discussion. What do you think, Cara?
I agree.
I'd love to hear what other people think about it. Maybe leave us something on social media. What are some things that you do with resistance? How does it impact you?
Yeah, we would love to hear that. I would love to hear people's solutions to that. That's great. That would be really helpful.
Awesome. Well, that's another episode of FriChats. What do you think, Cara?
You're the best, Marly.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. Well, that's it for another episode of FriChats. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to see the show notes page where we left links and notes about today's discussion, or if you'd just like to sign up for our weekly email newsletter to get tips on food blogging, head over to choppedpodcast.com today. Here's to something inspirational coming your way today.